If you like my videos, don't forget to follow me on social media to keep up to date with all the latest news regarding my channel and my content. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe below or at the end of the video. Don't forget to check out my Amazon store, filled with recommendations on Blu-rays, DVDs, books, and other media featured in my videos. G'day guys, Dave Lee coming at you once again from Down Under with another movie review. In this video we'll be taking a look at the latest release from Warner Brothers Pictures. Directed by the legendary Steven Spielberg and based on the book by Ernest Cline, starring Sheridan, Olivia, Cooke and Ben Mendelsohn, it is Ready Player One. In the year 2045, the world has become somewhat desolate, with most of humanity instead opting to spend most of their time inside the OASIS, an immersive virtual universe where people can choose their appearance and name and go anywhere and do practically anything possibly imaginable. When the founder of the OASIS passes away, he sets a series of challenges for his users, unlocking a special key at the end of each one and finally unlocking a golden Easter egg right at the end, the finder of which will become the sole proprietor of the entire OASIS. Ready Player One follows Wade, aka Parzival, one of the millions of OASIS inhabitants who find solace in the virtual world. After completing the first challenge and unlocking the first key, Wade becomes the target of IOI, a gaming and tech corporation run by the evil Nolan Sorrento, who wishes to obtain ownership of the OASIS within his own company. With the help of newfound friend Samantha, aka Artemis, Wade goes on the run from Sorrento and IOI, learning along the way what real-life consequences come from living most of one's life within the virtual world. Steven Spielberg is most probably the one filmmaker who has had the biggest influence on my entire life, other than maybe George Lucas. Whether it be through his family fare like Indiana Jones, E.T., Close Encounters, Jaws, Jurassic Park, Hook, and even Back to the Future, which he produced, or through his more adult features like Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, Spielberg's many films across many different genres have touched and inspired me over my entire cinematic journey, whether it be as a filmmaker or on a more personal level. However, it has been quite a few years since I saw a Steven Spielberg movie that I really liked, or at least one that I really connected with. I just kind of thought, to be completely honest, that the Spielberg of old was gone. The man who once made the greatest family features of all time had seemingly lost his spark. But boy, was I wrong. With Ready Player One, Steven Spielberg delivers one of his best movies for a very long time, and perhaps his best family feature since Jurassic Park, which came out in 1993, a whole 25 years ago. This is when I start to feel old. Regardless of how much time has elapsed between Jurassic Park and Ready Player One, Steven Spielberg shows that he still knows how to make a fun, exciting and entertaining action-adventure flick for the family. And he shows that he is still capable of capturing that Spielberg charm that was so prevalent in his movies of the 70s, 80s and 90s. This is not only one of his best movies for a long time, but perhaps the most Spielberg-esque. The look, the feel, the tone, the themes of this movie are so reminiscent of the Steven Spielberg movies of old. In Ready Player One, I found a sense of wonder and enjoyment in one of his films that I haven't found since being a kid. This is kind of something I never thought I'd find in his movies ever again. I really loved the story of Ready Player One and thought it was entirely captivating. I had an absolute blast watching it and was just completely in awe for most of the movie. All the performers in this movie are great. The two leads, Sheridan and Olivia Cooke, are fantastic. Mind you, most of their performance is in CGI motion capture, but within the context of the movie, it's totally fine. Ben Mendelsohn, a favourite Aussie actor of mine, is also brilliant as always, proving once again that he can play a completely convincing yet completely captivating jerk. Speaking of CGI, there is a whole lot of it in this movie at that. Ready Player One is probably Steven Spielberg's most CGI-heavy live-action movie, a complete overload of cartoon characters, explosions, stylish vehicles, and dreamlike worlds. While the CGI completely takes over the movie, literally the movie is probably 50% CGI and 50% live action, I never felt that it was once overused or at least abused. Spielberg manages to use the CGI to tell and guide his story, not let it become his story or take over it. This is kind of like the Roger Rabbit of this generation, in the way that it both uses animation juxtaposed with live action and offers up plenty of pop culture references in blink and you'll miss them moments. If you know anything about Ready Player One, you'll know that this is absolutely littered with references to 1980s and 1990s pop culture. Wade's vehicle of choice is the DeLorean from Back to the Future. He comes up against adversaries such as the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, King Kong and Mechagodzilla, and finds himself surrounded in the OASIS with characters ranging from Marvin the Martian, Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to Chucky, Freddy Krueger and Jason. Meanwhile, his friend H takes the form of the Iron Giant in one of the film's battle sequences. For a pop culture fanatic like me, this movie is absolute heaven, or an oasis, as it were. A complete visual feast where just about every single frame of the movie offers up something to smile about, in complete nostalgic awe at the immense thousands of references to popular characters from both cinema and games. Look, I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with anything, but one of my favourite sequences in the entire movie sees the characters literally step into the setting of one of my favourite movies of all time. It was absolutely incredible. It's a sequence that goes for about 10 or 15 minutes, and the way in which it was pieced together was fantastic. It used actual elements from the movie as well as new CGI parts, and they must have shot in the location of the movie, because some of the shots they managed to get was like, it was like they were in the movie. It was incredible. Probably one of the best sequences I have ever seen in cinema. It's just so meta and so self-referential. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Okay, I know I'm absolutely geeking out over this movie and all the references in it. All the references do add this really amazing charm to the movie. But, that said, all of these references do become a hindrance on the movie's story after a little while. Though I did love these references, there were a few moments in the movie where I had to shake myself because I realized that I'd become too occupied in trying to spot the references within the movie than actually focusing on the movie story itself, especially in the climactic sequence, which is this absolute overload, not only of CGI, special effects, but of references. There are literally thousands of characters running about, and it just becomes at this point a movie where it's like, oh, there's that guy, oh, there's that guy, there's this, there's that. It's completely distracting. It's nothing that was a hindrance on my overall enjoyment of the movie, because I really was just absolutely geeking out over it all. But sometimes it just comes down to less is more. Another thing that unfortunately Ready Player One had going against it was its runtime. 2 hours seems like the perfect runtime for a movie like this. Unfortunately, this movie goes just a little bit longer. It's just under 2.5 hours, and I feel like that was just that little bit too long for this movie. The last 30 to 45 minutes of the movie in particular just becomes so self-aware and overindulgent in the way that it's throwing out all of these references to you that the movie does become somewhat of a drag, where it feels like it's just taking forever to get to the end goal. The movie just becomes so obsessed with throwing out all the references that they obviously couldn't fit anywhere else in the movie that it really sabotages the final act of the movie. While these references are a fun and quirky gimmick at the beginning, they really should have just been toned down as the movie went along to not only help with the narrative of the movie, but to help with the audience's attention to it. It just feels like this movie is just stretched out too long. I'm just in two minds about this movie. Look, again, this is nothing that ruined my overall enjoyment of the movie. I really loved the movie and I thought it was so much fun and so entertaining, but it's enough of a hindrance that it prevents this from reaching the level of perfection of Steven Spielberg's older classic. But again, maybe it's that thing where we hold the older things on such a high pedestal that nothing can ever reach them again. I don't know. With that, I would still happily award Ready Player One with a very easy 4 classic Steven Spielberg movies on VHS out of 5, and I would happily rewatch this movie again multiple times. Ready Player One is a wonderful and wondrous piece of family action-adventure filmmaking from the master of the genre's kind. A legendary filmmaker who proves that even 25 years after his last major hit in the field, that he's still got it. Great Scott! Thank you once again for joining me for this movie review. If this is the first of my videos that you've seen, you'd like to see more like this in the future, then please at the end of the video hit that big old subscribe button up on your screen and give me a little bit of support. To all my regular viewers out there, thank you once again for joining me, and to absolutely everybody out there, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does a great deal in getting my videos out there. Look guys, I hope I'll see you all again soon. Until next time, take care, and I hope you have a wonderful day.